And he really did go to Israel just because friends. But Lev Aaron knows that there's really a voice that the boy really heard. And when he got on the plane, even if it was because his friends were going, he really got on the plane because of the voice. He really got on the plane because of the bat call, because of the sound that Hashem is calling every single one of us. In fact, let me give you a little example of this concept. This is not from Lev Aaron, but kind of associates in a certain way. I don't know how many years ago it was. It might have been 12, 14 years ago. I was in Brooklyn for a few years, and one night I decided I'm going to take my wife out for dinner. I don't remember where we went, but we went somewhere. I remember it was on Avenue K. And you know how it is to park in Brooklyn? You remember Brooklyn? Yes? Okay, you know how it is to park in Brooklyn. You pull up, it's always tight, and it was a tight spot. And my wife said, no, I think you could get the car in. So I got my car in, like, you tap the car behind, tap in front. Nowadays you don't do it as much because they have the beeper and it kills you, the car, it gets crazy. But back then, what?
Brake assist.
Yes, whatever it's called. But those things, my car right now, if I pull back and there's a car coming, I feel like I got into an accident. But anyhow, back then it was easy to do. You nudge the car in front, nudge, you put your car, very good. Parked my car, we went out for dinner. We come back, and I see someone, like, leaning on my car like this on his phone. Back then it wasn't even a black, it was like I think it was like a flip phone. Leaning on his car, and I hear him talking. He's like animated and he seems worked up. I don't know who this guy is, worked up. And I hear him say, oh, here he comes. And I'm like, here, who comes? The only one who's coming is me. So I get closer to the car, and he starts ripping. Jewish kid, I don't know where he came from. He says, this your car? I said, yeah. I said, yeah. He said, look what you did. I said, what'd I do? He says, do you see there's a car? You see what you did? I said, no, what are you talking about? He says, you see my car over here? It's a white on black CL550. Mint condition. I waited my whole life for this car. And you scratched the car. I said, I scratched the car? No, what are you talking about? He says, look. I'm looking to find the scratch. Boys, there was no scratch. Not like a rabbi can't tell scratch. There was really no scratch. He was livid. He says, you don't understand, this car is my life. This car is my life. Using every word in the English language and not in the English language. This car is my life. This car is my life. I can't believe what you did. I can't believe you did. It'll never be mint condition again. I don't know if I was scared, confused. I don't know what was happening. Finally, some Syrian guy walks by. And I go over to the person. I said, can you talk to this man? So he goes over to this boy. The boy's maybe 25, 27 years old. He goes over to him. He tells the boy. He says, do you know who you talked to? The boy says, no. He says, do you know who you told me to? The boy says, no. He says, do you realize this story is going to be online in 2 days? So the guy then calms down and he sits in his car and he just doesn't know what to do with himself. Now I almost felt bad for him. He's a Jewish kid. I never saw him before. And I go over to him and I said, listen, I just want to tell you two things. I feel for you. I feel bad. I really do. I said, but I want to tell you two things. First of all, this is Brooklyn. In Brooklyn, the way we say good morning is by tapping your car. So just understand this is life. I said, but second of all, I want you to know, if your car is your life, you don't really have a life. He says, Rabbi, trust me, I know. That was it. And he drove away. Of course, I said the story online 2 days later. And I said it wherever I could. In fact, I think I said it in the dome on Sharet Zion on Rosh Hashanah. Okay? 2 days later, I get a phone call. I get a phone call. And I say, hi, who's this? Back then I answered numbers I didn't recognize. I said, who's this? He says, does CL550 ring a bell? I said, yeah. He says, does CL550 ring a bell? Now I'm starting to shake. I'm like, he must have heard that I told the story about him. He's going to slash my tires. I might find myself like in cement in the bottom of the ocean. Like, I was so nervous. I said, yeah. He says, I'm the guy from the CR 555. He says, what you said to me that day inspired me. After Sukkot, I'm going to Israel. He went to Israel to learn. He called me again after when he came back. I forgot his name. It was a year later. He called me up. He said, Rabbi, making Siyum Masechet Kiddushin. A few weeks after, maybe a year later, he called me to make a beracha at his wedding. I was unable to make a beracha at his wedding, but he married like a ben Torah. I went to his Sheva Berachot and I spoke at his Sheva Berachot. I think it was in Queens. I spoke at the Sheva Berachot and I told the story. I said, it's unbelievable. There are people that I know for years and I can't move them an inch. This guy, I moved his car an inch and changed his whole life. The person's name, I don't know if you know his name is Mordechai Bachar. He lives across the street. He owns 7, what? Morty Bahar. Did he learn here ever?
No, he used to teach here.
He used to teach here. He now runs 7 different Kollel programs in Israel. 7 Kollel programs. He's finished many Masechtot, and it all happened from a tap of a car. I'm not exaggerating. I was just on the phone with him. I wasn't even going to say the story, but I was just on the phone with him. He's telling me the programs that he has. There are people learning all day. There's Kabbalah program. There's Friday program. Halacha. It's unbelievable what he's doing.
Now, that's not why you're so afraid.
What? Now I'm afraid. Oh, now you know why I was afraid. He was a scary guy back in the day. He was. No, he really. I remember he kept saying. Remember when he was yelling at me? He kept saying, "Torah is your life, but my life is my."